What's up, guys? It's Lord Botha here for another video, and the Switch 2 pre-orders have been delayed in the United States. This comes to us from IGN on Twitter, stating that the Switch 2 pre-orders are delayed in the United States as Nintendo considers the impact of tariffs. This is because the United States has put reciprocal tariffs on Vietnam, which is the manufacturing country for the Switch 2. And I just want to say to all of you, people that I know and respect in my life, even in the gaming space and gaming commentary space, all of you said, oh, it's tariffs, bro. It's tariffs and inflation. That's the reason why this thing is so pricey now, man. That's why the prices went up on everything. I just want to say that when I said, that's not it, tariffs are not the reason for the price hikes, I just want to say that now I'm feeling vindication! Because it just never made sense, man. Tariffs and inflation don't equal a 50% markup on your actual console from the original price of the first console. Nor does it also equal an extensive markup on pretty much every product you have that's coming along with the new console, including the digital version of games, which I don't know if you know this, don't get exported because they're digital. But everybody either said, oh, it's tariffs that are going to be implemented, and they have to think about potential tariffs that might get implemented and adjust for that. That's the reason why. And now they're delaying it further because they have to actually consider the impact of tariffs, which implies that tariffs weren't considered in the original price.
It's as simple as that.
This is on top of the fact that the price was probably set, or at least softly set, a long time ago before tariffs were even really talked about. Also, if tariffs played a big part in all this, why are countries that aren't putting reciprocal tariffs on Vietnam, like Canada and Australia, also being punished? Because their prices have significantly raised as well. Also, wouldn't it make sense for Nintendo to come out in their Direct and mention the prices, or even after their Direct and mentioning the prices, and state that the prices are so high and have been risen to so much because of the tariffs, and say that, hey, it's the tariffs, bro. Blame your government. Because that would take the heat off of them for all the backlash that they're facing, right? But they didn't do that. Also, if they had done that and even kept their digital prices the same, or at least significantly less than what they plan to, which is, that $80 mark, they could have said, hey, look, our prices are higher because of the tariffs on all the physical stuff. But the digital stuff is still at a pretty, fair price. And it would put a pretty big juxtaposition between what cost a lot more because of tariffs and what didn't cost a lot more because it didn't have any tariffs on it. And also, they could use it as even more leverage to try to push people away from physical games and physical media, which quite clearly they want people to do. They don't want people buying physical media anymore. I think everybody is in agreement with this, seeing everything that came out. The point to all this is that it's not tariffs or inflation that's driving up the Switch 2 price costs and all the stuff that surrounds it. And the fact that Nintendo is nickel and diming you for every freaking step along with this console. It's the simple fact that Nintendo thought they could charge you more for everything, thought they could nickel and dime you for every step along the way, so they're doing it. They see PlayStation doing it, they see Xbox doing it, so why shouldn't they get involved? And people have tried to defend the price hikes online as well, and it's wild, man. And a lot of it is based around incorrect information. Razor Fist. Yes, the same Razor Fist that has me blocked because I did the terrible, terrible thing of calling him a hipster when he said that all anime was trash.
You're acting like a girl out there. What are you, a girl or something?
He made a post about the Nintendo Direct, and somebody said that they would be sitting out the $80 Donkey Kong, and apparently he took that personally. Well, he takes everything personally.
It became personal with me.
And he quote tweeted this person and said, how old are you? Because if you're old enough to have played the NES or the SNES, you remember that games used to cost whatever Nintendo, Sony, or Sega felt like charging. Final Fantasy III cost $80 in the early 90s, and that wasn't at all uncommon. First off, even if that's true, not a good thing. Secondly, it's 2025, dude. A lot of gamers, I don't know if it's a majority, but a lot of gamers are very young millennials and Gen Zers. You are a boomer when it comes to gaming now. Sorry, bro. And this is, quite honestly, a boomer take. This is the boomer take of, well, stop being poor.
If you're homeless, just buy a house.
There is essentially a generation now, a 20-year-long generation that is used to a certain price point in gaming. And we are now going well beyond that known price point in gaming. There's a little bit of shock there. Sorry. This is what a lot of people who grew up gaming don't consider as normal. And of course, Jeremy D-Day Cobra, who I actually really like, even though we've had spats about different beliefs on different game developers, shall we call them, who like to post a lot of anti-woke stuff on Twitter, I still really respect Jeremy and what he's done with Geeks and Gamers, and I think it's an overall net positive in the space. That said, he agrees with this boomer take, mostly because he's a boomer gamer himself. And yes, I know they're technically like Gen X, but this is that boomer mentality here. And he says, yep, that's why I'm personally not bothered at all. He also would go on to, under a post about Nintendo Direct and the prices and all that, roast Nintendo for not putting their prices on the Direct because they knew it would look bad. And he defends saying that about the Nintendo Direct and them being shady and hiding their prices till after the Direct was over, and saying this here that he's personally not bothered at all. He defends both those statements by saying, hey, there's a difference between what I feel personally and what I feel is the opinion of most people. And I get what he's saying there, but also, just like the optics of what Nintendo did was bad, the optics of what Jeremy here did was kind of bad. Not that Jeremy has ever really been one to care about optics. Razorfist would continue on his boomer take crusade by saying video game prices haven't kept in pace in 30 years. You're not mad games are $80. You're mad that your $80 isn't worth dick. And so am I. Government is stealing the money you have sitting in the bank right now through the only tax that no one gets to vote on: inflation. He then included 2 screenshots here of pictures of advertisements in magazines, all that, about Nintendo games, along with their prices and all that, trying to prove his point that, oh, Nintendo games used to cost a whole lot, nearly $100 in some points. The problem here is that these actual screenshots of magazines he's showing here are from Canada. The Canadian dollar, if you don't know, didn't match the US dollar in value until about 2007. And from the time period that we've been talking about, right, the 80s, 1980, and the 90s to 1999, the Canadian dollar fluctuated between about 0.6 to 0.75 worth of a US dollar. That means that when you do the math and you adjust the US price from these Canadian prices, the most expensive game on here, these $94, are more like $66, $67. So, yeah. That's embarrassingly wrong.
Congratulations, you played yourself.
You have Madam Savvy here, another person that I really respect, some of the investigating stuff she's done on DEI in gaming, the leftist agenda in game development industry, but who has also had some pretty terrible takes to go along with it. She states here, why was it in the 80s and 90s we as little kids worked to save up money for the $100 game? I still don't know what she's talking about. Also, Savvy, unless I'm mistaken, is in her 30s, which meant most of her growing up time would be in the early 2000s, around the same time I was growing up. Maybe I'm wrong though, I don't know her exact age. When that probably translates to $150 to $200 today. But today, we as adults now complain about the $80 and $90 price tag.
I mean, it's one banana, Michael. What could it cost? $10?
It's a fascinating thing to consider. We all expected the price to go down, which is why we welcome digital downloads, but they never did. It's super weird because it's like they want to pretend that the 2000s didn't happen. It's like they want to pretend that costs of developing cartridges and actually manufacturing and shipping were a lot more expensive in the 80s and 90s. And you also had a smaller market because gaming in the 80s and 90s wasn't that big of a hobby. So you had higher costs, smaller market to sell to. So yeah, your games are probably going to be priced more. That's how you're going to get the profit. They want to ignore the fact that in the early 2000s, we experienced an explosion of gaming as a hobby, and the market grew extensively. And they want to ignore the fact that the innovation of the CD-ROM cut costs for gaming development drastically. And that's even before the digital download age, really. They also want to pretend that added extra competition, along with that invention of the CD-ROM, didn't also influence prices. The continued development of PlayStation, the invention and release of Xbox, which then started the console war between the two, the continued development and increased efficiency of Nintendo, along with, and even in the early 2000s, the expansion of PC gaming. All of it were things that helped drive down prices in the early 2000s to the 20-teens. And that's when you start to see prices actually go up, despite the fact that you have digital downloads. And there is no real explanation for this. No tangible explanation for this. Other than the fact that the companies know that they can charge more and you'll pay more. Because you like the products, you like the franchises, you want access to them, and they know you'll pay for it. By the way, this might be a good time to mention here as well. Madame Savvy, from what I've heard, didn't necessarily grow up in a household that ran off of Spam and Hamburger Helper. And I don't know about you, but I never had a job as a little kid. And if she is in her 30s, I'm going to assume that she was a little kid as in single-digit ages in the late 90s. I never had tasks or a job or even an allowance in which would ever add up to $100. So I feel like her life experience may not be the common life experience of everyone else. Also later on in this post, and this is the frustrating thing, the way they all share stuff like this together. She posts the same exact screenshots as Razorfist that I know she got from Razorfist probably, that are, as we stated before, Canadian. So, completely different prices in the US from what it shows there. And everybody that seems to be in this kind of associated bubble are basically in the lockstep with this idea. That it's, there's nothing wrong with the price. That's a fair price for everything. I don't know why everybody's complaining. Valiant Renegade, yeah, the movie numbers guy. He made a video about this, in which he defended the prices Nintendo are charging. In that video, half the things he's using to explain why the costs are good or okay are things that could be used to explain why they're not good and why the price increases aren't justified. Even X-Wing made a video about this. And X-Wing, I love the guy. I even told him I'm really glad he's making videos again. I can't wait for another video from this guy, and I'm glad he's making content. And I also told him that it's a horrific take, the most boomer take he's ever had, and that he should feel bad. But it's just blowing my mind, dude. People actually defending a corporation charging these exorbitant prices that don't really have any actual defense for why they need to charge that much, other than the fact that they want more money and that everybody else is charging more, so why wouldn't we charge more?
Doesn't anyone notice this? I feel like I'm taking crazy pills!
But nothing explains it. Inflation don't explain it, tariffs don't explain it, and I'm not going to be gaslit into saying, the prices are actually good. So this is where we are in gaming now. Nintendo has joined the rest of them. PlayStation, Xbox, the whole rest. They're just greedy. And if you can afford to, go along with that greed, I guess okay, go right ahead. But my thought is we're nearing a breaking point where a good majority of the audience might not be able to afford all that. And when that happens, we might be hitting a reckoning when it comes to sales and publishing in gaming. But those are just my thoughts on all this. If you have your own thoughts, go ahead and leave them in the comments. If you liked this video, go ahead and like, share, and subscribe. If you didn't like this video, I appreciate you watching all of it. We'll talk to you again later.